So we can log in OK by clicking the login button, but nothing happens when I log out. And what we need to do is process this query string status, which has the value logout when I click the logout button. So in index.php, clearly simply setting the menu file to the URL where it can be found is not sufficient, and we need to paste the script if login authorized to do a bit more processing here. Just setting the menu file to the URL is no longer enough. We need to also capture the access level, which is the value of the cookie access level set in the function user authorized, as is the user ID. And then if we click the login button, that sends a query string called status with the value logout. So we'll capture that query string in the variable status and test to see if the variable is set, which it will only be if it's given a value, and that the value is logout. If that's true, we'll set the cookie to nothing and to expire in the past, and then start reprocessing index.php all over again. And all of that you've seen before in the old login script. Otherwise, we'll set the menu file to the URL, as we did before, and we'll set the content code to the value of the query string content. And remember, from TP CRM menu, the value of the query string content code was set to something like insert company for the create company file, edit company. And this is in fact the only information that CRM menu is sending back to the index file now. Simply a query string to tell us how to proceed further. I'm going to set the content message to content code and then print it out in the content column later on. So I'll paste an update to that content column that simply says, if the content message is not empty, then echo the content message. And we'll save that. Now, returning to the browser, you're probably trapped in this screen because the cookie login authorized had been set to login authorized, which meant that there's no way you could get out of it. Even when you refreshed the screen, the cookie was still sitting there, and it will be for 2 hours, sitting there on your PC, making sure that that CRM is permanently logged in for 2 hours. But now we've changed the code in the index file. Clicking logout does send us back to this login screen, because when we click logout now, it sends from the CRM menu, it sends the query string status equals logout, and it sends it back to the index file. The index file says, get this query string status. If it equals logout, set the cookie to nothing and expired. And then reprocess index, which then comes across, it starts again at the top, and it comes across login authorized. The cookie is nothing. It's certainly not equal to login authorized. So since it's not authorized, it processes the else component of that if statement, which finds that there's no username and no password. And therefore we get the content file being set to the login form. Just having a look at the other components of that, once we log in and we click on any of these menu items, they are the query strings appearing over here from the menu script. So when I click on insert company, it sends the query string called content with a value insert company back to the file index, and index processes this by echoing the value of the content message, which had been set to the value of content code, which was the query string content.